Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Path to DevOps series. I am Shiki, and today we're not going to do anything technical. Instead, we're just going to sit side by side as friends and discuss how long it's been since we started the Path to DevOps journey, how much progress we've made, and also what's yet to come in the future of this series. So, grab a seat and let's get straight to it. This is it. Here we are at the culmination of all our efforts in the past 8 months. So join me at the bonfire and let's start talking about what we've been through and also what's planned for later on. This is us on our DevOps journey at the moment when we started. And in part 1 of our adventure, also by part 1 I mean episodes 1 to 7, as you can see on the screen. And in those episodes we discussed about the application stack that we are going to use, and that's publicly available on the GitHub account for you to download and follow along if you haven't done that yet. We've also learned how the code can be compiled for all 3 applications. We've done that using Docker. We understood how the backend microservices connect to the database and also how the front end communicates with the backend microservices and how this configuration can all be done in various places. And also we ran the code locally, manually, but also using Docker Compose. Having spent the first part of our journey on understanding the stack of microservices we're going to use and how we have to compile the code and obtain the executables and run those executables, it was now time to deep dive into some automation. And that's exactly what we've done in part 2. We started taking a look at Azure DevOps and how pipelines could help us automate the process of compilation and also building the Docker image. We also discussed about where we're going to deploy and decided we were going to use Kubernetes. So we discussed some deployment mechanisms into Kubernetes. We also manually created the AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Service, the place where we were going to deploy our microservices. And we also deployed to said infrastructure and served our application simply at an IP address somewhere on the internet. We can all agree that having an unsecure front end served at a random IP address on the internet isn't going to baffle anyone and isn't going to satisfy any customers, so we obviously had to make more improvements, which is why part 3 came in. In part 3, episodes 15 to 21, we actually automated the deployment process by linking the build and deployment pipelines together. We also improved the deployment mechanism by diving into Helm charts and how we can use them to obtain a more robust deployment mechanism. We also exposed the front end to the internet using an ingress object instead of a Kubernetes service of type load balancer. And finally, we reached a stage where instead of having our front end served at a random IP address in the internet, we were serving it on a domain of ours, and we were actually doing this securely, having HTTPS with certificates generated by Let's Encrypt. And that's basically what brings us to today. This is exactly the point we're at right now. So, what comes next? If I'm being honest with you, there's a million things that we could do next on our platform. But as usual, we're going to take things slow, process them, and keep in mind the fact that you can't create perfect in one day. Actually, I think you can never create perfect. You just keep being better little by little. So that's all we're about. Incremental good changes. So on the next part, in part 4, which is about to come up, and that's going to be episodes 23 to I don't know how much, we're going to talk about defining what an environment is first. Because right now we're using multiple components. We have a MySQL database, we have AKS cluster, we have an IP address somewhere in the internet, we have DNS zones which host our domain names. But honestly, all of these were separate processes which were deployed manually. And I don't really like that. If you want to be able to repeat successfully what we've done, it would be a big hassle. Which is why we're going to introduce in the following episodes infrastructure as code in the form of Terraform. We're going to use Terraform in order to create this bundle of resources in Azure in the form of AKS cluster, MySQL server, VNets, IP addresses, resource groups and whatnot. Yeah, we're going to discuss about this in depth later on. But what you need to know right now is we're going to automate infrastructure deployment using the infrastructure as code technology known as Terraform, obviously deployed in Azure Cloud. We're also going to create multiple different environments. So obviously, we're going to transition to a pipeline which deploys infrastructure in Azure DevOps. We don't have this yet, so we're going to create it. Also, we're going to improve our platform little by little. What I mean by that is I would love to see a future in which we also have some observability attached to our environment. And I would think open source projects like Prometheus and Grafana would best serve our small stack of applications. So I think we're going to integrate these into our existing environment in the near to medium term future. By continuing to add value in an incremental manner, we will be able to reach a state which satisfies us in terms of the platform which we've created and the processes that we've designed internally. And all of this will be able to support the efforts of a team which tries to do software development. Because hopefully in the end we'll have multiple pseudo-identical environments ranging from the lowest one, which is the one we've created now manually. Let's say it was a POC, but eventually we would like to have a landscape which contains a dev environment, a test environment, maybe a staging environment or pre-production environment, and eventually production. Now, how many of these environments you have, this is more of a business decision than a technical one, but ultimately you need to be able to reproduce having multiple pseudo-identical environments and having a process in the form of a pipeline which is able to promote code from the lowest of environments, which is dev, up until the highest of environments, which is production. And that's where your value sits at, and that's how you offer value to your customers. So if this is something you want to learn more and understand more about the processes surrounding this phenomenon, keep watching on this channel because I have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. This is it for today, guys. Thank you for giving me your time of the day, and I really hope that breaking things down like we've done in this video today helps you better understand what we've done so far in the Path to DevOps journey and also what's yet to come in the near future. If you know people who would benefit from this type of content, don't hesitate to share it with them, because this is the reason why I've created this as a series on YouTube. I want people to benefit from this knowledge for free. So please spread the word. It would be of tremendous help to me and the channel, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot and have a good one. Cheers.